Let's do another edition here of Guys on the Go. All the sports talk you need from the week in less than 40 minutes. We've got a lot of cool graphics on our YouTube side. Let's lead off with this one. There it is, the Hooters Owls right there. Don't forget, Hooters Super Bowl to go orders. You can get those now. Hooters will be broadcasting live this Friday, 9 days ahead of the Super Bowl, before the big game, Super Bowl 56, 4:30 to 6 o'clock. Levack and Gaz, me and my co-host Levack, we'll be broadcasting live. Come by, say hello, enjoy the wings, the beer, and more. This Friday, live from Hooters on Wolf Road. And don't forget, Super Bowl Sunday, your spot is Hooters. Give them a call, 518-438-9300. 518-438-9300. Save that number to your phone. That's the place. I see the wing prices are skyrocketing, Hooters. That's not happening for you. Regionally priced chicken wings, can't beat it on Super Bowl Sunday. And I can't pass up a good segue when I hear one and see one. Mohawk's family's got some great events going on next week as well. Speaking about chicken wings, the best chicken wings in the capital region. We're going to find out on Wednesday live from Mohawk Chevrolet. Check out their Facebook page, the Tour de Wings. I'll be a judge, part of that event, noon Wednesday, February 9th. So again, head over to the Mohawk Chevrolet Facebook page. Check out all the great inventory that's in now, the new rides that you could have. Shout out to Andy Kelcher and the crew over there. What an amazing spot to find a vehicle in Half Moon, New York. I've been able to visit the dealership. It is something that is truly remarkable. You know, if they're putting that type of effort into the car, buying experience, you know you're going to get something great. Mohawk Chevrolet, that is Wednesday the 9th at noon. We flip it around and go to Mohawk Honda for a live show on February 10th, 4 to 5:30. Levack Gaz live on location. You've heard me talk about the Pilot, the Passport, all the new vehicles that are in 2022. Now's your chance to enjoy the show live and in person and find out about the great deals going on. Affordable, the budget, inventory, new year, new ride for you, and work with people that you can trust during the car buying experience. It's so important. I always say it because you want to have that happen. Mohawk Chevrolet on Wednesday, Mohawk Honda on Thursday, and always Mohawk goes out of their way to please you. And look at this graphic right here. There is John Goodman's face. Johnstone Supply in Troy is now calling it the John Goodman Furnace. And if you say that, listening to a Godzilla Media podcast, Levack and Gaz, credit to Levack for coming up with it. 2% off your order. That's right, 2% off a buy of the furnace. Thanks to Johnstone Supply in Troy, just by calling it the John Goodman Furnace or saying you heard it on Godzilla Media. We always appreciate their support, and now they want to continue to support us and you looking for something to change your home. Whether it's a furnace, whether it's a boiler, or somebody in your family or friends are just having issues, give them a call, 518-272-5922. If there's something in your basement going wrong, you're not quite sure if you need a repair, the best advice you can get is from our friends at Johnstone Supply in Troy. Their number, one more time, 518-272-5922. If you hit 2, you'll get kicked over to our guys Tom and Rob and Kev and James. Who knows? Maybe even George will say hello. We love George, man. Shout out to him as well. Those guys have been helping people across the capital region for decades. Now they want to help you. And even if you don't live in the capital region, you're hearing this, it's still worth to give them a call to ask those questions because they're people that we love working with, and they've been doing it for so long. And it's so cold. It's freezing. February's been here. Some of you aren't even leaving your house because it's so cold. Make sure the things that are important for you are getting taken care of with people that you can trust. We've been saying that throughout this entire episode. It's all true. We want you to support the people we support. Johnstone Supply in Troy. All right, let's do it. Guys on the Go, all the sports talk you need in 40 minutes and less. You know, if you're listening to Guys on the Go, a story that may have happened this past weekend, we stay away from the recaps and the box scores and the stats. Those are for different podcasts. That Guys gives you that reaction stuff on Tuesday. For the stats, we talk fantasy. When we get into topics like this, we always think about the future, the preview of what could happen and what it means for the legacy of these teams, franchises, and what's important to you as a sports fan who may not have a tie to that certain team, or may. So look at the Super Bowl that's approaching. Super Bowl 56. The Los Angeles Rams taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Think about this matchup before we get to picks and prop bets and all the fun stuff that's surrounding the game. And you've already heard about a lot of the pieces you should be a part of leading up to the game and our Super Bowl coverage and all that. Let's give credit and understand what this Super Bowl really is already before it's even kicked off. We've got double underdogs. Think about that. Now, the Rams, I know just a few seasons ago in that Super Bowl in Atlanta, almost beat the Patriots. Sean McVay, Jared Goff is its quarterback at that point, in what you could argue was the most boring, close Super Bowl of all time. Yes, there have been Super Bowls that have been blowouts, but with little to no offense and action in that Super Bowl, it's not one you want to rewatch, even if you're a Pats or Rams fan. So they're back. Matthew Stafford is back. But remember what the Rams were. They weren't a top seed or 2 or 3. Where did the Rams rank for you going into the NFC playoffs? Now, my guy Levack, he called it preseason. And other people may have done the same thing as well, but they were not a top 3 seed heading into the postseason. A 4 seed is in the Super Bowl. And flip it over to Cincinnati. Think about this Bengal team. How crazy the AFC was this season with the Chiefs and the Bills and the Titans. Yes, the Bengals won the division. But when we talk about the prestige and pedigree and those terms that float around more so in college than they do in professional sports, the Bengals had not won a playoff game in 30 years. Not since the 2001/2002 Patriot team. That game was played in January of 2002 that took on the world's greatest show on turf, right? Warner and Holt and Bruce and Falk. Has it felt like there was a team that didn't seem like they should have been in the game? Now, you can bring up the Philadelphia Eagles from a few seasons ago, but they were the top seed in the NFC, even though they were underdogs every game. The Eagles won that Super Bowl. But think back of the teams that really felt like they didn't deserve to be there. And that's not even the right term. We didn't think they'd be there. We didn't think they were good enough. We doubted them. All those things. The sports cliches we hear constantly, right? Us against the world. Nobody believed in us. Even when you have franchises like the 49ers and the Steelers who are lower seeded teams this year, wasn't there a part of you in the back of your mind like, well, we've seen a Steeler team get to the wild card all the way to the Super Bowl before. Well, the 49ers are pretty good, but is it Garoppolo? Is it not Garoppolo? So the Bengals broke through. The Rams broke through. This is not one dominant team versus another dominant team or one David versus Goliath. I think David versus Goliath is even too much of a stretch for this. This is great for the NFL. Because I remember texting this. I might have even tweeted this out at Tom Goss, TOMG. It was easy. I've never had the NFL playoffs feel more like March Madness. One and done, elimination, every play, every shot, every kick, every foul. It all matters. And that's what this NFL playoff was. So many people want to argue that the NHL playoffs are the best, the NBA playoffs are the best. Hell, I love March Madness. I just brought it up, and I know that's the best. But that's what the NFL playoffs got here. Even though some of these matchups in the Super Wildcard round were complete blowouts, and we could argue the playoffs shouldn't be expanded, and we could even argue that the teams who got the number 1 seed, the bye week, did not benefit them after seeing what happened in 2022's playoffs in January. But we were entertained. We got great games. We truly didn't know what teams were going to get to the Super Bowl. How often do you say that in professional sports? Not very. That's what the Super Bowl is about. Yeah, we'll get to the X's and O's and the matchups and the teams and the players. All that stuff will come next week and throughout the week on Godzilla Media. But when I look at the Super Bowl, if you're sitting with somebody who's not a football fan, that's how you sell the Super Bowl to them. The Bengals had never won before. The Rams are playing on their home field, and they shouldn't be here. Both these teams were doubted all season long. The Rams have Hall of Famers. The Bengals have players who could be Hall of Famers. That's what's going to make the Super Bowl a lot of fun in a few Sundays from now. Old Tommy Brady retiring from the NFL. It hurts. It breaks my heart as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan. Now, that might even sound strange out loud saying that. Look, I'm a Buccaneer fan. That's my team. Their quarterback retired. He led them to a championship last season. Why can't I be upset that he's retiring? Here's what I really want. I texted a bunch of my friends from this back home, too. I said, I wish he never retired. I wish Tom Brady just flat out never retired. I wish that he was like 50 years old and we'd turn on ESPN or whatever the format's going to be 5-6 years from now and said, is Brady a good option for whatever team at 50? Will Tom Brady unretire and help this team? Tom Brady led the NFL in yards and touchdowns last season. He didn't fall off. He wasn't bad. He led a huge comeback against the Rams in their Cooper Kupp blitz by Levante David away from potentially moving on to the NFC title game. So Tom Brady retires. Look, could I do another 2 to 3 minutes on how he's the greatest of all time? We've already heard that, right? Blah, 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 blah. We all get that. I'm ready to make the case that he's the greatest all-time North American team athlete ever. That's not to drive the fans of Bill Russell and Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky crazy. But that's what it is. More successful, all that stuff. That's what Tom Brady's legacy is. If you want to argue about who's the GOAT I mean, you can go on YouTube and find any other debate that they've done with that. It's not even an argument at this point. It's not even fun to do of how much better Tom Brady is legacy-wise than any other football player that's taken the field. But, man, I wish he would have come back. I wish he didn't retire. I wish it didn't happen. We were very fortunate. I've seen the graphics up on social media, the era we got to watch of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, that great class of quarterbacks. And I say class in the sense of they all played around during the same time. What a great era to be an NFL football fan, to watch all of those guys play. I liked it. It was fun. But we quickly shifted. We'll keep the graphic the same here on YouTube. For what's come of this story, the fallout of the Tom Brady retirement. First, let's start with Patriot fan. Patriot fan and Boston sports fan has been freaking out all week because Tom Brady didn't thank them personally in the 8-page post on Instagram. Didn't we already do the Patriot thing? Didn't that already happen when he left New England the first time and Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick? We already got the thank you for New England. So now because he doesn't thank them a second time, they're upset, and then the Patriots put out a thank you Tom post on social media. Tom quote tweets and says, love you guys, some variation of that. So that wasn't good. What a 2022 story that is. That someone is complaining because they weren't thanked properly. Someone is complaining because they didn't get enough credit for something. Even though they've been given credit for it before, they want more. This is a spot where you just cannot satisfy everybody. That people just want to find anything to complain about. That New England fan still feels a bit bitter about how it all ended with Belichick and Brady. So that's what everybody got worked up about. And of course he's going to thank him in 2027 when he goes to the Hall of Fame. And if he doesn't, he knows that's going to be a story. Tom Brady is not dumb. He's got a team around him and everything else. And team in the sense of public relation team on this one. So I'm shocked by the backlash and how much people cared about an 8-page Instagram post because they didn't get thanked properly. Bizarre. And then let's go to the Schefter Darlington stuff. Adam Schefter, the first to break the story, along with Chef Darlington for ESPN. And I want to give credit to Jason Lockenfora at CBS because Jason Lockenfora had a story out there that people around Tom Brady had reported that he was going to step away. My pal Chet Davis over at CBS 6 Crushing in the Mornings right now, he sent me that report and I said, you know, Lockenfora doesn't have the track record that Schefter and Darlington do, even though this is a day before and he wasn't as confirmed as the other guys were. How about the backlash those two faced? Schefter and Darlington, why? Because the guys with the beat in Tampa, Greg Hoggman and Rick Stroud, a legend, reported that Tom Brady had not told the Bucs, which they weren't wrong either. They weren't saying Tom Brady was retired or not retired. They were just saying, hey, my sources are telling me Tom Brady hasn't told anybody. And that might have been true too. Adam Schefter and Jeff Darlington may have been so good at this that they actually got it before the Bucs did. So there you go. This pushback of, well, Brady didn't announce it yet, so we don't know if it's true or not, and it hasn't happened, and people are pushing back, and they haven't decided about it. Okay. Like, that's the world we live in now. Adam Schefter will tell you this, and I will never forget this. When he reported that John Gruden was going to be the Raider football coach, he went on SportsCenter that night with Scott Van Pelt, and he said, every story I have ever reported, ever, I always get pushback. That's a part of the gig. Whether it's the team, whether it's the coach, whether it's the player, people are always going to push back, and that's when I know I'm on the right track with the story. If I don't get pushback, that means it's confirmed faster than I realized. And he remembers saying the John Gruden story got zero pushback. He wasn't concerned. He's Adam Schefter. He has to do it more deeper than anybody else to confirm these stories. What happens is media members might get jealous. Fans don't want to believe it. Or, which is the most bizarre thing, we go to two here, fans want athletes to control the narrative now. It's a weird thing that happened. That now the fans, the reliance on reporters isn't what it used to be. It seems that fans don't want reporters to do this. Fans want reporters to give them injury updates for wagering purposes and fantasy football and baseball purposes. That's become the top two things. They want injury status for fantasy football purposes and for wagering purposes. That's why people love reporters now. Yeah, it's cool about leaking draft picks, but people like to watch the draft. I don't know if they're interested in that. It's cool about trades, but the team's going to announce that at some point. You're going to see the trade happen. You know me, I'd love to just be WWE style and just show up and random players are on the team and it's awesome. It's more about injuries. That's what it's about. Now, to the fans that said the take of, well, that's not fair to Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest. He should have retired on his own terms. I saw other people saying, how could Tom Brady make it about himself before the big games this weekend and take the attention away? Tom Brady never came out and said it. He waited. And then finally said, okay, I'm retiring. I'm sure he didn't want to do it this way. I'm sure he wanted to put out a video or a statement before anything else. But you have to remember, what is Adam Schefter and Jeff Darlington's job? To be first, to be accurate, for people to care. Now, maybe or maybe not, they could have their contract or bonuses quantified by traffic and being first. Oh, that's all agent stuff, and that's possible working for a media company. It is. Maybe they're bonused off that stuff. I really don't know. But what it's more about, and this is hard for some people outside of media to understand, it's really about the future more than the present. And what I mean by that is we might remember this story because it was unique that Schefter and Darlington broke it first. But seriously, 90, 95, hell, 99% of stories that happen in sports, can you remember the first reporter who had it? Exclusive. Most people, a high number of people will never remember who broke the story first. But it's not always about that story. It's about a story 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. That if, hey, these guys got it right and got it first, I don't need to look at the competition anymore. And that's what that story is more about. I mentioned Jason Lockenford for CBS. Did people turn to Lockenford to see what he was thinking about it? Did people turn to Jake Glazer? Did people turn to maybe not? That's the point of guys like Woj and Passett and Pete Thamel. It's not that Pete Thamel got the job as a college football reporter because he nailed the LSU Brian Kelly story, which is a huge deal and it helped his career. It's because people will go to Pete Thamel now because, hey, I trust him. Why would I go anywhere else? Same thing, Sean Ross Sapp. As Fightful as insider for wrestling. Why would you go anywhere else? If he's got the story, why go check 4 or 5 other sources? I trust him. He gets it right. He's got credibility. He got it right in the past. The present influences the future. It's not so much about that first story, but if you can break it, it's great. It's about what it means for the future, the followers, the sources, all that stuff. So Schefter and Darlington did their job. They got it right. I feel for Tom Brady leaving. I wish he never would have retired. It would have been so much more fun for years to come of Brady just not retiring. Which, by the way, Tom, it's not too late to unretire. Briain Flores and the situation that's happening with his career. I would go and check out Marcel Louis-Jacques. Shout out to Marcel, man. Love spending time with him at the old Buffalo training camps out in St. John Fisher. Really good dude. Great job laying out the 58-page lawsuit, the biggest details of all the things involving Briain Flores suing the NFL. Now, those details, I want to give Marcel the clicks. So go check out the article. If you haven't read it yet, actually pause this, read it, and then come back to us because that's how much I want to give Marcel the love on this. Yeah, those details are pretty interesting. Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, giving him $100,000 if he loses games. The John Elway drunken potential meeting. Bill Belichick's wrong text, which some people are still convinced isn't even real because of how bizarre that is. Well, let's get into what Flores' lawsuit means for the future. And we're taping this, by the way, for perspective on Wednesday, so many things could change and more details and stories and everything else could happen. But when it's out right now, Flores understands the risk that's involved here, that this could potentially end his head coaching career. There's rumors he's still a finalist for the Saints and the Texans, and I know Adam Schefter even promoted that the Texans should hire Briain Flores for the controversy that's been around the franchise. But now Flores is suing the league over these details that have happened. I want to say this. Also check out the Get Up interview. Because I watched the Get Up interview. There's few times, probably since March of 2020. Seriously, think about this. Have you had appointment viewing? Besides live sports, besides your favorite team playing. There are a few things in my life, especially post-March 2020 when COVID hit, that I get in front of the television and say, I can't miss this. I got to watch this besides sports. Especially with the baby, right? You watch it when you can. If the baby's sleeping, maybe you can cram it in an hour, maybe 90 minutes. Hell, I'm on Ted Lasso. I got 1 episode left. It's taking me about a month and a half to get through those 12 episodes. But I made sure at 9:30 to watch Briain Flores, and sure enough, what happens? He's late to the interview. But go back and watch the interview. He seems nervous. He seems unsure of himself. You've seen so many of these in the past. If you're a sports fan, I know you are, of when a lawyer or an attorney is involved in one of these interviews, it's usually to stop a line of questioning or to advise his client to not answer something. That never happened in this get-up interview. In fact, what would happen is that Coach Briain Flores would give an answer, and then the attorney would say something. And then Flores would say, and then another attorney would say something. It felt to me like it was more about the attorneys wanting to promote themselves. That these lawyers wanted to have this class action lawsuit become the look at what we did in our career. Let us become the lawyer of the NFL player. Let us become the lawyer of the NFL coach. Let this be a career-defining moment for us. I've seen these hundreds of times. That's not how this goes. And when I read Marcel's piece, I thought there was no doubt, zero doubt, this happened. To have a coach have back-to-back winning seasons, to know what he went through, and to risk it all, he had to have the truth on his side. And I know what's going to happen over the next 24 to, week. There's going to be reports trashing Flores and saying he's a liar, and the Broncos have already come out and done this. But during the get-up interview, I got a sense that Flores might have been lying? Not telling the truth? Not being forward and upfront about this? You can tell when someone is confident in what they're saying. And especially somebody who knows the truth of what happened, there's no reason to feel not confident about it because you know what happened. Flores didn't come off like that in that interview. And was it the lawyer's advice to not be too specific of certain instances because they're going to use that in a lawsuit? If that's the case, then why do the interview? Let's ask it again. Why did he do the interview? To do what? To get people on his side? That didn't do that. It makes no sense to me of why they made this more public than it already was public with being vague in the interview with Mike Greenberg. And look, not to compare this directly, but this happens all the time now in the world over the last 2 to 3 years. Like Nia Jackson Wrestling has come out and said her side. Killer Cross, who's a wrestler, talking about getting released. Getting there with Gaz. The first podcast I ever launched on Godzilla Media. You go back and listen to it. I've never, back to the Schefter thing, I didn't get any pushback from anybody besides who it involved. No one said Gaz is lying, Gaz is being deceitful, not telling the truth. And I would love for somebody to say that to me one day because I actually am curious what they think wasn't true. I was confident when I told the truth. I got screwed over. We all know that. It's not to rehash that. The point is that if you know the truth is on your side, be confident. If you feel like you've been unjustly treated, tell us why. Don't dance around the issues like Briain Flores did. It was strange, man. I think he's a good coach. Players have backed him up. But how this has come together is getting weirder by the day. Not more confident that Flores would win. When that report hit one more time, I thought there was no doubt that he would win this. But now I'm more fascinated about what details really might be coming out over the next few days and why Briain Flores is being public and why this has happened and how it affects black coaches in the NFL's future. You know what? I was going to move on to the next story. I got an Olympic story here, but I just thought of something while I was getting ready for the Olympic thing. Doesn't this Flores thing, by the way, feel a little bit like Maria Taylor? If you don't remember the Maria Taylor story, back and forth with Rachel Nichols, remember, Maria Taylor's agents decided to leak the story about Rachel Nichols and the NBA Finals and diversity and all that other stuff. It almost in a play to get Maria Taylor a new contract. Either ESPN was going to look bad because they didn't bring back Maria Taylor, or she could potentially say the reason I left was because of this. Maria Taylor had gone through multiple agents. They tried to go the scorched earth method to see if it might benefit her for a new job, and eventually Maria Taylor got the gig at NBC. Doesn't this have a little bit like Briain Flores to it? Where Briain Flores has decided to sue the NFL, and even Adam Schefter, back to the quote we just told you a few minutes ago, said it'd be a great move for the Texans to hire him because of all the backlash they face. He didn't mention how he was as a coach. He mentioned the reason why the Texans should hire him is because it's going to make the franchise look good. Almost identical to the Maria Taylor thing. Hey, ESPN won't look as bad if they bring her back and make her the face of the NBA coverage. Just notice that when we were talking about it. All right, into the Olympic coverage now. The Olympics opening ceremonies get underway on Friday. So the Winter Olympics, the Summer Olympics, so close back-to-back here because of COVID and everything else. We get back-to-back years with Olympic coverage. Of course, this is the Winter Olympics in Beijing. I want to do this. I know the Winter Olympics don't get as much coverage as the Summer Olympics, sports that are less popular here in the States. downhill skiing and cross country. Oh, we get all that. I'll give you a name. I like doing this when we talk about our Olympic coverage. I'm going to give you a name. Here's the name. Nathan Chen. Men's figure skating. No, I'm not going to break down men's figure skating. What I'm going to tell you is this, though. I think American sports fans, and especially, I've told you this in our past Olympic coverage, female sports fans love drama, storylines, the champion, the heart of a champion, all that stuff. That's what the Olympics push, great stories. Here's Nathan Chen, 5th at the 2018 Olympics. Then 1, 2, 3 consecutive world championships. Destroys everybody. A Yale student. A guy who's a borderline genius. But he hasn't medaled yet. And now he can do it. Now I bring up Nathan Chen because what's happening now, whether it's the Bad Sport documentary on Netflix or the story that's on Peacock about the Canadian figure skating team that's together, it's gotten a lot of popularity. So because of these Netflix and Peacock specials, there are now sports fans that are more focused on figure skating. Of course, we know the Tanya Harding stuff and all that. The drama behind that has now brought a new audience to the sport. So if you're telling me an American can win men's figure skating, maybe without controversy, and represent the right way, that's the fun story I'm looking at. Now, if you can find a different story than that, I know hockey, a lot of the players we hope for are not going to be there because of the rules in Beijing and COVID and all that stuff. So the hockey's not going to be there. Schifrin, she's a huge story. Michaela Wright, she's been a story for the past few Olympics. We'll find out if it's her. Remember Chloe Kim a few years ago kind of stole the headlines early on, but that's the name I think is going to break out. Nathan Chen, men's figure skating, will be a person everybody's talking about in a few weeks. Overall, the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, okay. I love the Royal Rumble. It's my favorite one. The anticipation, the build-up, all that stuff. The best thing in the Royal Rumble is the opening match. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins coming out of the crowd like it's the Shield, the music playing. Then throughout the match, the true story they're telling where Rollins goes for the fist pump like they're in the Shield again. Oh, it was beautiful. Those guys put on a great match. That stole the show at the Royal Rumble. Awesome. Yeah, we already kind of have an idea of what we're getting. Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. Do we need Lesnar to win the Rumble, though? Did we? Because Roman Reigns gets involved in the match with Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, and because of that, Bobby Lashley is now the champion. So why did we need double? Like, we got it. Reigns wants Lesnar. He showed it in the match. We got it. Paul Heyman crossed Lesnar. We got this. We covered. So why did we need Lesnar to also win the Royal Rumble? I don't get it. You couldn't have had anybody else? Now, if this is the scenario, which I kind of hope is, because it's kind of cool. Here's what the WWE has done over almost like a decade. They had one match they really, really wanted, and they have let the fans decide who the next person up's going to be. Remember Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement? Now, would that have happened if CM Punk didn't leave? That's probably a different podcast. A lot of guys at White Heat take that. They'd probably say no. But because the fans got behind Daniel Bryan was the one. What about Kofi Kingston? Kofi Mania. Elimination Chamber. The Chamber became a spot where Kofi Kingston got the backing, and that took off Bray Wyatt. Remember, Bray Wyatt wins the championship in the Chamber, and people have always wanted Bray Wyatt. Now, it didn't have that same type of finish like Kofi and Daniel Bryan, but we saw the fans get behind Bray. Now, her storyline goes back further than the Royal Rumble, but Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. So as much as the WWE faces criticism for the ways in which they set up matches, it feels like they're sitting back thinking, okay, we know we want Lesnar, we know we want Reigns. We know we want some combination of Ronda versus Becky or Charlotte, but we've already done that match, so maybe it's going to be Ronda versus Charlotte. We'll give Becky versus Ronda before. Some combination of that is going to happen. So they already have those things locked in, so now they're leaving it up to the fans. So they can't criticize them and say, well, you guys wanted this guy, you didn't show it. Well, this guy should have stepped. Here's your moment, Cesaro. Here's your moment. That's what I would love to see happen. Cesaro versus Lashley, where Cesaro's not even in the Royal Rumble. And that's what he gets on the mic and says, I've been overlooked, I've been doubted, you didn't put me in the Rumble. Let the Cesaro movement finally happen. This is the one that it's setting up for. We're 8 years out of Cesaro winning the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, where he picks up Big Show and slams him out of the ring. Here you go. Who else is going to take on Lashley? Omos? Is he ready for it yet? Rumors floating around Matt Riddle? Now there's rumors out there that Shane McMahon is no longer in the company because he tried putting himself as the winner of this year's Royal Rumble? There's a lot that can happen now, but I hope the fans understand the power that they have over the next 8 to 10 weeks, that they might be determining truly who Bobby Lashley's going to go up against at WrestleMania. And on the AEW side of it, how about our boy Danhausen? Danhausen, if you have not seen this guy, Google him, put him on YouTube. How do I describe Danhausen? Very nice, very evil, like he describes himself. If Conan O'Brien was a ghost, I think he describes himself as? He's somewhere between Orange Cassidy, Doink the Clown. He is exploding on the internet. His debut has over 1 million views. He continues to dominate YouTube. In the ring, he's not Kurt Angle. He's not Bob Backlund, but he's entertaining, and the fans love him. Danhausen debuting in that Adam Cole-Orange Cassidy match, and he continues to dominate the internet. Danhausen, man, if you haven't seen this guy, he is hard to explain. I wouldn't do a good enough job doing this on this side of it. Even if I tried to, it wouldn't live up to actually seeing him. So Danhausen's debut in AEW, I want to give that some more love again because of it dominating the internet. And it's almost time for our weekend wagers. The weekend wagers are coming on the way, but before we give those to you, we got to tell you who makes them possible. That's our friend Jared Lozier at Northeastern Insurance, man. It's so cool when you hear other people complimenting partners you work with about how well they're helping their business. Now Jared Lozier can help you, whatever it is. Maybe you're a small business owner. Maybe you're a bigger business owner. Or maybe you're just somebody who wants to save some cash when we talk about insurance policies for the things that are important to you. Call Jared Lozier. Email him a free quote. What are you waiting for? You're going to sit down with your wife, your fiance, your girlfriend, your family, and be like, all right, here are my finances I'm planning for 2022. And they're going to ask you, do you think there's spots where you can save? How do you save? You may not even know that, but just email him for a free quote and find easy money just sitting there for you. His email, jaredl@anymail.com. And I've told you so many different times what you want to email him. Guys on the go, ? Can you save me money? Jared will put a big smile on his face. He'll get back to you probably faster than anybody else. His number, 518-956-3753. 518-956-3753. Call him, text him. Heard Gaz's podcast. I like to save money, please. And he will take care of you. Jared Lozier, Northeastern Insurance. Who knows? You might see Jared at Hooters, and he has said this to me before. $100 to my child's college fund. If you grab him by the shirt somewhere in public and say, give me money, there's a discount you can't get anywhere else. Jared Lozier, Northeastern Insurance. All right, weekend wagers. Let's do it. I feel like I'm going in blind on these picks because a lot of these do not even have a spread yet. We'll have a more accurate play from our Friday show live from Hooters, but three games are the ones that stick out to me. Saturday. First, we go to the NBA. The Suns are taking on the Wizards. That game is in Washington. Phoenix is one of the hottest teams in the NBA, and we know it. But Phoenix is a Thursday night game on the road against Atlanta. Flip around and do a Saturday game at Washington. West Coast team coming east. Even though everybody knows how hot they are, you know what I like to say. At home, NBA, Friday, Saturday game to put on a show for the fans. Don't know the number yet, but if it's less than 9.5, I would take Washington. Let's also stick with Saturday. 2 games in college basketball. Noon tip-off. UConn taking on Villanova. Big East basketball has been fun to watch this season. Let's get an over. Let's hope for like a 136, 138 opening spread. Get like 140, 142 and play that over. UConn, they've got a lot of offense. They're trying to figure out exactly where their footing is in the Big East. We'll find out if Villanova can bounce back. I know the Wildcats have been battling with Marquette as we're taping this. UConn, Villanova over. And also on Saturday, look out for a 2 o'clock tip-off between West Virginia and Texas Tech. Texas Tech is coming off one of their biggest basketball games in program history, if you saw the videos. Chris Beard, the battle there involving Texas and Texas Tech and everything else. But the Red Raiders win that game in Lubbock. Can they still get hyped up to go on the road and play a good West Virginia team led by a Hall of Fame coach? West Virginia, careful with that number. Same thing. You want to get a little risky and toss some West Virginia money line upset action? That might be the great play there. Let's see how those numbers officially come out. But I don't think it doesn't even matter for me. West Virginia, money line to play on Saturday. All right, those are the picks. Hope to see you on Friday for Hooters. If I don't see you then, enjoy the week. Next week, we're talking Super Bowl. Talk to you then.